Morning, everyone. Eric Caden here with the Weather Service in Morehead City. It's just about 11:30, so I think we'll get started. This is going to be a little shorter than yesterday. Just want to capture some of what's going on now and the rest of today, highlight some of the threats of heavy rain and isolated tornadoes, talk a little bit about the storm track, but that pretty much has remained unchanged over the past 24 hours. Then at the end, we always welcome questions and comments, but if you could give us some reports of what's going on out there. We're starting to hear some information, some flooding down in North Topsail. We've heard from the city of New Bern with some heavy rain issues, but also seeing the Neuse River come up, and then some, looks like mainly minor issues on the Outer Banks. So if you all could give us some reports, we would certainly appreciate it. Curious what's going on out there. At the end of the call, we'll certainly take those that feedback from you. So this is a radar right now. Pretty much what is happening outside right now will continue for most of today. There are some subtle changes that I want to point out to you. One is the orientation of the rainfall. Overnight last night, it was just a nice steady rain, heavy at times through this morning. Now we're starting to get some more banded features. So I'm going to stop the animation. Anywhere on here with the light blue, it's just some light rain. The green indicates some moderate rain, and it's these darker yellows and especially reds where we're having pockets of heavier rain. There's a couple boxes on here. The first one is a flash flood warning that we just issued for portions of Carteret and it looks like Craven counties. We've had some radar estimates of 4 to 6 inches of rain already. We could have some additional higher amounts. You can see some of these heavier bands of rain on the eastern end of this warning. So these are the areas of concern. A general widespread rain for everyone, but as you look out over the ocean and we animate this, as we get into the afternoon, the real steady rain will start to become more scattered, but it will start to become more banded. So we'll see these bands of heavy rain rotating onshore. And where it sets up, we call it training, where it goes over the same spot over and over again. That's where the flash flooding risk will be. So it's not an overall widespread flash flood risk. We're not talking about historic flooding or anything like that. Everyone's going to have periods of rain, heavy at times through the remainder of this afternoon. But as it becomes more scattered, as it becomes more banded, it will kind of set up in certain areas, and where it trains, we'll have to issue warnings to cover that flash flood threat. The other thing I want to talk about, and we spoke about this yesterday, we've already seen some indications of rotation out over the waters, and we've issued a couple special marine warnings to account for that so far this morning. We're still seeing those areas of rotation off the coast. So I'll pinpoint one of those now. This blue box here is just off the coast of Cape Lookout to the south and west of Lake Ocracoke. This area here, some indication of rotation, so we have a special marine warning for that. As these bands continue to rotate onshore, we do have the possibility of tornadoes this afternoon, into the afternoon. Everyone is at risk. But as I show you the latest SPC mesoanalysis, they just put out one, this red circled area, and especially they said within 1 to 2 tiers of counties from the coast, that's where they are most concerned. So this is a tornado threat for today, 60% chance that we would be issuing a tornado watch. So this is a threat we've mentioned, much like the heavy rain and flash flood threat. It's not going to be a widespread outbreak, but as those bands rotate onshore, pockets of locally heavy rain and also that tornado threat. The biggest thing with that, I know a lot of the kids are home from school today, either off or a virtual day, making sure people in the community remind themselves to keep the cell phones charged, have that weather radio. They're probably not out driving and shopping today with the nasty weather, but just have a way to get downstairs away from windows if we happen to issue a tornado warning. So I wanted to cover that first things first, with regards to the rain threat and the tornado threat. Those are kind of the two biggies. We'll talk about coastal flooding here in a second. Just want to quickly show you, I know you have access to this, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. No change to the track over the last 24 hours. It's pretty locked in somewhere in the northeast part of South Carolina between Charleston and Myrtle Beach. Reason why I wanted to show you this, a large wind field. So as far as wind gusts go, some of us have already seen the strongest winds. We had some gusts last night into the 60s up into the Outer Banks, Jeanette's Pier, a 62-mile-per-hour gust. That was yesterday evening. Fort Macon, a 50 gust this morning. Bogue Field, Carteret County, a 48-mile-per-hour gust. Then the strongest wind in Craven County was a 44 gust in Cherry Point. That was just yesterday afternoon. So bottom line, those persistent northeast winds from yesterday afternoon through today, at least this morning, will continue, and that is causing some coastal flooding. But as Ian makes landfall later today, our wind is going to shift from the northeast to the southeast, and that's where we may have some more coastal flood issues, especially on the Crystal Coast, and then Ocracoke and Hatteras Island south-facing beaches. That swell is going to get us today, and it will start to diminish tomorrow as the track of Ian goes inland. So we're going to shift gears and talk about the coastal flooding a little bit. We've gotten some pictures from downtown Beaufort. High tide is pretty much any minute now, so the highest water levels there probably occurring, and we've seen some flooding in the normal usual spots in Beaufort. That will continue for the next hour or so, and the water will go down. It looks like the next couple high tides still perhaps into minor stage, but not quite as high as what we're seeing out there now. This is one of the images from the webcams in the downtown district of Beaufort showing some of that flooding. Right before I came in here, and I think I saw Stacy on, you certainly can confirm this, but it looks like we might be getting some overwash down in North Topsail as well. So this will continue, and so south-facing beaches may see it continue longer through tonight into tomorrow because of Ian itself. With that northeast wind, we were really highlighting the Neuse River. We got a report of about 3 feet above normally dry ground. Back Creek, that's one of the small tributaries off of the southern end of the Neuse. This is Cedar Island. The gauge peaked around almost 3 feet, and it is now going down. So those areas along the Neuse River, those areas, I'll show Duck on here, up toward Duck. Those areas should actually start to get better here as we get into the evening. We're close to high tide now at Duck, almost at 6 feet. I know we had a little bit of overwash. We were looking at some of the DOT cams on the northern end of Pea Island, but for that part of the Outer Banks, the worst part is probably now. And then as we shift our winds into the southeast, that's when we'll change our focus to Hatteras Island South, Ocracoke, the ocean front, also the Crystal Coast as we get swell from Ian. So really a two-part storm. These northeast winds really piled up the water, places like the Neuse River into Beaufort and those areas. Now we're shifting gears into the afternoon, impacting some different areas. I do want to take evolution of what's going to happen beyond today, and the news is certainly good. So this is a model we showed you yesterday that's doing a really good job. So we'll take it into the afternoon. The actual circulation with Ian, again, well to our south, down towards South Carolina. But as we always talk during preparedness, impacts can occur well away from the storm. So as we go into the afternoon, this is the banded features I'm talking about. So the rain is going to become much more scattered this afternoon. It is not over with. It's just going to set up in certain locations. Where that happens, that could be anywhere in eastern North Carolina. We're going to have locally heavy rain. General 3 to 6 still looks good. Isolated amounts could be higher where that rain trains over the same location. And again, have multiple ways to get those warnings, because if we issue tornado warnings through the afternoon, it's going to happen really, really quickly. As we get into tonight, things are looking much better. The actual circulation of Ian goes up through central and northwest North Carolina. As that happens, for most of us, we dry out. It's going to take the longest across the Outer Banks. You're still going to have some of these bands of rainfall. And we showed you yesterday, these extend really far to the south. You're going to notice a difference in how it feels outside. Remember, yesterday it felt more like a nor'easter, kind of a winter day. It was drizzly and cool. Today it's going to start to feel much more humid. And as that ramps up, that will increase that threat for tornadoes and also heavy rain. And some of those rain bands could linger into the evening, especially on the Outer Banks. As we get into the weekend, though, the remnants of Ian still lift out. There is some question whether or not these remnants drift back over us on Sunday, but right now it looks like Saturday mostly dry, around 80, and then perhaps on Sunday the remnants may try to drift back over us. What that would do for us is just bring us a couple scattered showers, but I know we've got the Seafood Festival in Morehead City. It's looking better Saturday and Sunday, certainly, than what we have outside this morning. So that is it from us. No headline changes, just really wanted to focus on that tornado threat, heavy rain threat, and then mention the coastal flooding. At this point, be happy to take any questions, and I know we've got some hands raised. If you do have reports to pass on, please let us know. A lot of times we just have to look on social media before we know about it, but this really helps us, see what's going on, if we have to make any adjustments, and also look at the accuracy of the forecast with regards to coastal flooding. So let us know about that. We will record this, or it is being recorded, and I'll post it to YouTube probably within the next 20 minutes or so. So if you just joined us, we will certainly post that. So at this point, I'm going to look to see if we've got any questions or comments.